Hi dear traders. In his cryptic message 12 years ago, Satoshi Nakamoto said, "I've moved on to other things, Bitcoin is in good hands." The flagship cryptocurrency is anonymous and decentralized. These features are the coin's biggest advantages. However, this is what makes governments of some countries displeased. In other countries, on the contrary, crypto is being increasingly used. Anyway, digital assets are gaining popularity across the world. Even in China, despite a total ban on crypto, over 30 million people use them. With an earnings season in the United States in full swing, there have been fresh banking crisis fears. In March, U.S. regulators shut down 3 regional banks in an attempt to protect the economy and regain the public's trust in the American banking system. However, the threat of new banking turmoil has weighed on stock markets in the crypto industry since. In fact, Signature Bank, Silicon Valley Bank, and Silvergate Bank were cryptocurrency-friendly institutions. This time, it is First Republic Bank that is on the brink of the collapse. According to its quarterly report, depositors withdrew about $100 billion from the bank in March alone. It could be yet another bank to fail, which means the banking crisis in the United States is still ongoing. Interestingly, when Silicon Valley Bank collapsed, First Republic Bank was able to stay afloat thanks to a group of large banks that stepped in to save it. Nevertheless, clients still decided to play it safe and transfer their assets to larger banks. That's why the largest U.S. banks have reported an increase in revenues, while the smaller ones are still bleeding. On April 25th, First Republic Bank's shares plummeted by nearly 50% after the release of the earnings report. If the government does not step in to help it, there are risks of a chain reaction throughout the U.S. banking system. Alternatively, First Republic Bank could be seized by U.S. authorities, as previously happened to Signature Bank. In this light, gold and cryptocurrencies are likely to be bullish, with investors fleeing to safety in the health of the banking sector gets much worse. Digital assets are traditionally on the rise during banking crises. Thus, the price of Bitcoin swelled by 8% after the First Republic Bank deposit slump sparked fresh banking crisis fears in the United States. Obviously, banking woes are not the only drivers of the Bitcoin price. Last week, the coin was through ups and downs. On April 12th, Bitcoin held steady at above $29,000 per coin. However, the price fell and a correction occurred. Bitcoin spent a few days in a corridor and tested a weekly low of $27,128 per coin. At the close of the American session yesterday, the flagship cryptocurrency rallied but then plunged. At some point, the price broke through a barrier of $30,000 per coin, but in just a few minutes, Bitcoin already tumbled to a low of $27,230 and entered back this week's range of $27,100 to $28,300. What was the reason behind such sharp price changes? According to on-chain metrics, yesterday a whopping $190 million worth of crypto assets was withdrawn in just 4 hours. More than 77,000 short positions were liquidated, and mostly in short leveraged accounts. However, the Bitcoin bulls did not give up, and the premier crypto gained new upward momentum, which could also be explained by monetary policy outlooks from the U.S. Federal Reserve. As mentioned earlier, relations between the crypto industry and the U.S. regulators are becoming increasingly strained. The U.S. regulators want to put this money-making business under control, and more participants join the struggle. However, the main problem has not been solved yet and will likely not be solved in the near future. The Securities and Exchange Commission still tries to apply the old legal framework of the stock market to the digital asset market. The Commission has been trying to put the unruly crypto businesses under its thumb with varying degrees of success. The Commission's vague position has not impeded its efforts at all. It has already fined Kraken $35 million for offering cryptocurrency staking services, sued Bittrex, and is preparing to file charges against Coinbase. Amid unwieldy attempts by U.S. authorities to rein in crypto, more and more investors say U.S. crypto businesses should move offshore. Garlinghouse, the CEO of Ripple, stated that his company is beginning to actively expand its business outside the United States due to regulatory uncertainty in the U.S. If Ripple loses its legal battle against the Commission, it will abandon the home market altogether. It's the only country on the planet that has said XRP is anything other than a currency, Garlinghouse said, adding that Ripple has expanded strongly around the world because they can work transparently elsewhere. The CEO of Ripple noted that other countries have a clear regulatory framework for the crypto industry. As a result, many representatives of the sector are moving their businesses to these regions. The US is lagging behind more progressive regions such as the European Union, Japan, Hong Kong, Singapore, Great Britain, Switzerland, and the United Arab Emirates. Over the past week, however, Ripple's native token declined slightly alongside other digital assets. Since April 12, XRP has decreased to $0.46 from $0.49. The decentralized nature of Bitcoin allows its unimpeded use in global transactions. Countries wishing to reduce their dependence on the US dollar as a reserve currency can consider crypto as an alternative. The US dollar's global dominance is slipping away alongside the leading position of the United States in the crypto sector. The US dollar's share as a reserve currency in international trade has also fallen by several dozen % after some countries switched to other currencies. This process is only gaining momentum. Today, the US dollar index has consolidated in the area of 101.3 points, a far cry from the high of 114 points it hit last year. Over the past week, the second most important currency, Ethereum, somewhat followed the trajectory of Bitcoin. Its trading has been less volatile during that period. Early on Thursday, Ether approached $1,916. All cryptocurrencies mentioned earlier are rising thanks to the efforts of bullish traders. In the meantime, the US dollar is retreating despite the upcoming monetary policy decision of the Federal Reserve. As Bitcoin is based on reliable technology, it is more robust and easier to use than gold or fiat currencies like the US dollar. It has become increasingly vital for several developing countries. Now, migrant workers can freely transfer funds back home, indirectly supporting the economy through household spending. Therefore, the crypto investment curve is predictably on an upward trajectory as well. And what do you think about the situation in the crypto market? Leave a comment down below. We wish you good profits and successful investments. See you next week.